welcome back to the channel. First flip. Well, thank y'all for hanging with me on this Thursday. So I did a video about dead sticking a fluke and a Cinco last year during the spawn. Told you a story about how I caught some fish on a lipless crankbait, dead sticking it in the pre-spawn when I won my boat. But I kind of want to revisit that topic because the more that I think about it, the more I fish, the more stories I share with other anglers. It's not just a spawn technique. Dead sticking your bait can always work, and it's fall technique, spring, summer, whatever, but it is going to work when you have high pressured situations where all the fish are seeing is baits that are moving. So I won my boat the final day of a 3-day tournament, had really bad nerves, I was freaking out, and I had heard, like a year prior to that, in really cold weather, just dead stick a swim bait. Don't think about it, just go out there and do it. Try it. So I could hardly fish. I was about to have a panic attack or something, and I just threw my lipless crankbait out and just let it sit there. Now this was a spot where it had been fished really hard for 2 days, and there were already like a couple 20-pound bags for 5 fish pulled off this spot. So they had pulled like probably 20 fish that weighed over, each fish weighed over 4 pounds off this spot. So they had been around a lot of lures, and the boat sat on it for all 8 hours of the tournament. So they just constantly were throwing at the same spot. So my bait, just sitting on the bottom, seemed to get bites when my partner, who had already known that spot, knew all the sweet spots on it, he had been fishing there for about a half hour in the morning, and he had not gotten a bite. And I throw my bait out there, I just let it sit. This was in the pre-spawn. This was nowhere near the spawn. The water was in the 50s. So I have actually taken that and used it year round. But funny thing about that was I fished with a guy the second day, and he said, man, I'm catching my fish when I kill the bait. So I'm winding it, I got it on braid, I'm throwing a lipless crankbait, I'm burning it, and then I stop it, goes to the bottom, and they eat it. So that's kind of what keyed me into just, all right, just let it sit there. Well, after the tournament, I had another tournament, I went over to Smith Lake, and I get over there, and my partner I draw, I'm a co-angler in that tournament, he was in the tournament on Gunnersville. He said, so what was the deal? What were you doing? How did you win that boat? So well, the key was you had to kill it, and they would just eat it when it was just laying there. And he said, you know, that's really funny. I didn't do well in that tournament, but on practice, I threw my bait out there, and I was on the phone, and I wasn't paying attention. My bait was laying on the bottom, an 8-pounder swam away with it. So this is what I've realized is fish see a lot of action in baits. Fish always see a certain retrieve on specific baits. If you can somehow get out of that mind frame, just let one sit. And I think this is something you learn year after year of fishing, because a lot of times you backlash, and it doesn't have to be just baits on the bottom. I've caught fish on a devil's horse after a backlash. I've caught fish on a spinner bait laying on the bottom. So it doesn't have to be a worm or something that looks good falling. Sometimes it is as crazy as a spinner bait laying on the bottom, or just whatever it's doing before it gets to the bottom. A devil's horse on the surface of the water, probably doing nothing, probably just kind of rocking there. You know, you think of the spy bait. I've only got on this bite one time, but it was pretty magical. It's almost nothing. You know, it's just kind of this floating, moving action. But bass are the aggressors. They eat everything, and a lot of times they don't want too much. They want less. Less is more in bass fishing. If I had my options any time of the year, fish fast or fish slow, it's always going to be slow to get more bites. So try the dead stick technique, not just when they're spawning, year round. It doesn't just have to be a Cinco. It could be a fluke. Try that. Good luck to you, and I'll see you on the water. Could be luck. Probably luck. Wasn't coming off. That is the good part about fishing with a jig. Typically they're bigger than this, but they don't come off.